Hey guys, in this video I'll be going over my preferred method of setting up Kontakt and Reaper. Obviously from the start, let's add a track. We'll go ahead and insert an instance of Kontakt onto that track. If you don't have this set up already, you probably will need to go into your project settings and under the Advanced tab, allow feedback and routing. This allows us to send signals from one track to another, and then also receive signals back to that initial track. Right click on our instance of Kontakt and hit build 16 channels of MIDI routing to this track. So now there are 16 channels that have MIDI being routed to this Kontakt track. Let's go ahead and name our track Kontakt. We also will notice the master send is unchecked for all of these MIDI items, and that is not what we want. We will need to check that back. For this example, we'll just be using 4 instruments, so I'm going to go ahead and delete the remaining 12 tracks. Perfect. So over in Kontakt, let's go ahead and add some instruments. I probably should have picked instruments that I already knew were working. So let's restart this part. Cool, we'll add a bass. We'll add a keyboard. Let's add another keyboard. And let's add some strings. Cool. So right now, if we add a MIDI item to this MIDI 1 track, we'll just hold out a sustained note, and then we can copy this item to the other tracks. Let's mute tracks 2 through 4. We'll just have MIDI 1. So if we play this, all right, it is linked to our first instrument here, which is perfect. So let's go ahead and name these. We'll have our pre-bass, we have our keys, we've got the blue ballad, and we have strings. We'll make sure that these are synced properly. Cool. The second one goes to keys on our keyboard and our strings. So the input is working perfectly. And if this is the setup you want, then awesome, you can stop here. But for me, I want both my MIDI and my audio to be emitted from this track here. So the first thing I'm going to do is uncheck the master send for the Kontakt track so that it does not send out any signal except I want it to send signals to these 4 tracks. So if I play, we don't hear anything. Perfect. Over here in Kontakt, let's, if we don't have this already, we need to check the Outputs tab. Under this drop-down, there are batch functions, and we want this first one, clear output section and create 1 channel for each loaded instrument. So now that I've clicked that, we can see in order, the Scarby pre-bass is being output to 1 and 2. Alicia's keys is output to 3 and 4. Blue ballad is 5 and 6. And action strings is 7 and 8. We can see that here under the routing tab where action strings is receiving MIDI channel 4, which is this boy right here. And it is output to the action string bus, which is Kontakt's output of 7 and 8. So let's go ahead and drag and drop from the routing to pre-bass. So 1 and 2 goes to 1 and 2, right? Because the Scarby bass is on 1 and 2 for Kontakt. The keys are 3 and 4, so we'll need a new stereo pair. And it still goes to 1 and 2 because 1 and 2 is the input for the keys track, but we want 3 and 4 because it's the output on Kontakt. We'll go ahead and drag to Blue Ballad, new channels. This will be 5 and 6 because Blue Ballad is 5 and 6. And finally, we'll drag to strings, which will be 7 and 8 because action strings is outputting 7 and 8. At this point, if you didn't have the feedback allowing checkbox in the project settings, this would not work. But because we have checked that, we can see our instrument is actually playing from the track that the MIDI is on. Perfect. So that is the end of the actual setup. If you wanted to, since this can be a little bit of a pain to set up the first time, but not too bad, you could save these as a track template. But in this case, I'm not going to do that. So hopefully that was helpful. Thanks for watching.